Okay, now we come to the $9 million plan, and it's going to be very difficult for me to focus because I'm all over the place. I'm very excited about this, so bear with me, people. I've tried to write down a few things so that I can keep um, some kind of coherence in what I'm going to say because this is it's a passionate thing for me. It's a labor of love. So what I've come up with is we have a thing called the circle of trees or the cycle of trees. That's what we're going to focus on. That the $9 million is going towards this cycle of trees. Okay, and planting trees came to us again because of the work of Chisomo. We in our group noticed that there was 30,000 hectares in Mchinji that have been subject to deforestation, and that is a disaster in itself. And we said, look, we're going to do something about this. And we said, Chisomo, you go to Mchinji and go talk to the forest department and see what you can work out with them. And we make a plan, and then we'll see how we can mobilize support from all over the world. And coincidentally, a few weeks after we started doing this, we recognized that the Honorable Saulus Chilima, the Vice President, was also on a tree planting mission. So I said, wow, God works in mysterious ways. It looks like it's all coinciding, which is really cool. Anyway, what we ended up with after so much hard work is a plan to plant 19 hectares, and that is a collaboration between Chisomo and Mr. Harold Kantenga, who I believe is still at the head of Mchinji Forest Department at the moment. Or if he has retired, then that was one of the last tasks that he did was to work with Chisomo, and involved with planting these trees for this plan is the Kayesa Youth Club. Right there from home. Everybody knows this is Jimmy from Kayesa Inn. And we are using a plan to plant, which also ties in with what I said about the 100% employment. This is the strategy that we use for 100% employment. Is a thing called 12 by 12. Okay, it's one of the tools that we came up with. 12 by 12 is basically 12 people to one bank account. So we're going to create a nationwide financial structure made up of groups of 12. We chose 12 because Christ had 12 disciples. The 12 months, the 12 tribes of Israel, so that's a manageable group, 12. So 12 people come together around one bank account, and we mobilize around the world to put money into the bank account to pay them to plant trees, which is their first job. And then according to how well they work together, planting trees, they can go on to different businesses and different business ideas, or they can change from one group to the other and go join a different constellation of 12 if they find that they can't work with this group or that group. What we're finding is that it is a way of optimizing and maximizing the money that is given to Africa so that it doesn't disappear within the structures that exist now. And I'm going to name them. I'm not afraid. The Oxfams, the World Visions, the Concern, whoever, all of you in Africa right there, you know that the money is going to pay your staff, to pay people for come to attend trainings. Unless you pay people money to attend a training session, they won't come to the session, and people are not coming there because of what's going to be taught, but because of the money that you pay them. How can you make money be the incentive for people to come to take part of something that's supposed to be helping out your country in the first place? That's your duty. You're supposed to find money where there is no money to help your country, like what I'm doing. I'm going on the streets here in London to find money to send home to Chisomo and to others so they can do something. You can't be saying that you have to be paid money because you want to develop your country. Your country is your country. That's your duty. You understand? So when we have the concerns and the Oxfams with their structure supporting that type of philosophy, we say this is one of the corrupting agents that we have in Africa that we need to get rid of. Because after 40, 50 years in Africa of fighting poverty, and poverty continues, then something is really wrong. Now you see that you've touched the nerve which is most important to me. This is the Jimmy. This is what the whole, when I take everybody around me knows. I say structure, structure, structure. If you break the structure, I go mad. Because it is structure that is keeping us in poverty. We are suffering from structural poverty, structural impoverishment. I will touch a little on what I spoke to the leader of the UTM by video way back, something that I noticed that really disturbed me. I will repeat it again. that at a time when it looked as though 3 million Malawians were going to suffer from hunger, it was 2015, the UK, after having a strained relationship with us, still came through and made a pledge of several billion pounds, or was it several billion kwacha. And our vice president went to lengths to assure them that the money would be spent in alternative structures, not the governmental structures, simply because DODMA, the Department of Disaster Management, had already gotten a bad reputation because of corruption. You see, so I really felt sorry for the vice president, that he was in a situation where he has to admit to foreigners who are giving us money that our structures that are built out of our sovereignty are not good enough to receive money and to ensure that money will come to our people. Now, if that's the situation with our governmental structures, can you imagine these big organizations who have way bigger budgets than us, enough money to undermine our governments because they have bigger money than our governments? Can you imagine the type of destructive nature that structure is to our people? It makes us have the priorities totally wrong. You understand? So for this reason, I come up with 12 by 12 so that we can assure whoever is going to be helping Malawians is that you're helping Malawians set up for business. Their business is to plant trees. They're registered. Okay? So it's a job. It's a business and a job. Right? We're enterprising them. And because the financial structure, it can be spread to the most remote parts of Malawi, which means that because it's a registered business, it is also going to be a tax base. We are widening the tax base of Malawi. Okay? So these people must open accounts with the National Bank of Malawi. There's a reason why I say the National Bank, because it is the one that is the easiest one to deal with internationally. Because all the money that they raise themselves, you know, because Malawians will have to raise the money themselves. You know, they have to pay 100 kwacha a month to be members of what we call 12 by 12, which is also part of Zisakuduse. Now, that's the first time I'm saying that word. I will explain Zisakuduse in the next video, okay? And when I explain it, Zisakuduse too, okay? Don't let it pass you. When I say Zisakuduse, Zisakuduse, all right? We'll talk about that in the next video. It's called Zisakuduse, all right? So, that structure right across the country, 12 by 12, is the best way to guarantee that the money goes into the hands of the people it's supposed to go to. Able-bodied young Malawians who will do anything to make a change and improve their lives, working together in groups of 12. After that, they can go into different business training. Okay? That's basically the structure that we're dealing with. Okay, so that is the structure that we expect to use to plant the 30,000 hectares in Ginji. And we are hoping that when we put it forward like this, we expect the UTM, the DPP, and the MCP to all be listening. You know? So, if this is really good, and the Malawians hear it and say, why, this is really good and can really happen for us, all of a sudden it looks like we have a real great election ticket. Except, like I told you, I'm not interested in politics. I'm a Rasta man. Okay? I'm interested in God. What I'm hoping is that this type of information will make everybody who's contesting for the leadership to say, look, we are better off working together. Okay? Which means the intimidation of the UTM must stop. Work with the UTM, work with the DPP, work with MCP, work together for the sake of the people. That is why Rasta is bringing this, and that is why we are launching Zisakuduse, for the sake of the people. Because the time of promises is over. Our people must live. Okay?